Hey, this is Susan Blanton with the Create Happy Now podcast, and I have Suzanne S. Bailey on the show today. Suzanne is a healer with a passion for helping people move out of pain and into power so they can experience peace in their minds, bodies, and spirits. She is a vessel for source energy, a Reiki Master, and is certified in healing beyond borders, awakening dynamics, and light bridge. In 2016, during a shamanic ceremony in Peru, Suzanne committed herself to being the hands and feet of God. She keeps his promise every day in her practice, combining intuitive healing with energy coaching and belief sculpting to help clients embrace their power to create magical, healthy, joy-filled lives. She offers individual sessions remotely and in person, as well as group healing programs, workshops, and retreats. Suzanne specializes in physical and emotional pain, trauma release, anxiety, and pre- and post-surgery healing support, as well as women's health issues. Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our Masters of Happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. I just welcome you so much to the show. I'm so glad that we've had the chance to get together and give you an opportunity to share some of the things that you have going on that you're really excited about. But before we do that, I wanted to just get the listeners a chance to know you and tell us a little bit about you and how you got to be where you are today.
Awesome. Well, first of all, Susan, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's just always a pleasure to share, what doesn't work in the world and what does, and ways that we can all help each other to live happier, more productive, fulfilling lives. So I had, a pretty normal childhood, nothing, much to complain about, good parents, typical upbringing. But I really struggled with perfectionism and not fitting in and trying to figure out, what do I need to do to navigate this world so that I can stay out of trouble, and have things make sense. I almost felt like I didn't really belong. And so I would see what other people were doing, and then I would just try to copy that, to figure out how to just stay in the right lane to make life okay. And I ended up in a few marriages that didn't serve me. So I thought, and I found out later that they actually did. But in my late 40s, I found myself, I'm not happy in my marriage. We had some financial problems going on. We had lost most of our wealth. My 2 teenage children were acting out. Mm-hmm. And I found, despite all of my spiritual studies and self-help books and everything that I was doing to try to, make myself into the best mom I could possibly be, nothing was integrating. Like, I would read it and I would know what I needed to do, and then I would go do something different. Yeah. And I just felt myself starting to implode. I started having anxiety and all kinds of health problems. I got diagnosed with a heart condition. And then my family and my friends were just like, this situation isn't serving you. Like, you need to get out of this marriage, and you need to pull yourself together and, finish raising your children, and, let God, take care of him and his family, and just, basically rip the Band-Aid off. So I did. And that was when, it was like my dark night of the soul. Like, that's when everything started to shift. I started to create supportive friend networks that sort of helped me through my divorce. I did a workshop that really helped pull together a lot of the beliefs that I had been studying, and everything that I was trying to do to make it better, make it work. Everything kind of started to come together. But there was a pivotal moment when I realized that for the first time, I was going to have to be really brave. I needed to get out. I needed to find, different fun things to do. My kids were growing up. They didn't need me anymore. My life plans of, retirement and everything were kind of all down the drain. Like, it was just like fruit basket turnover. And I just decided that I was going to be brave, and I was going to try new things and make new friends. And it was interesting because this work that I do now came to me through a friend. She invited me to a workshop, and I went to the workshop, and it was the healing touch. So it was the hands-on healing. And by the end of the weekend, I realized that I had a gift for it that I had no idea. The whole time I was like, I can't do this. Like, what are y'all talking about? And that synergistically worked together with me taking up a new sport, which was paddleboarding. So I went on Meetup, and I met some new people. And then those people introduced me to surfing, which is now my passion.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So there was a synergy between me embracing courage, and being brave enough to go on vacation with people I didn't know, go out in the ocean and have the courage to, become one with nature. And then to take this course, and then to decide that I was going to open up, and I was going to allow, this gift, if you will, to develop and to grow in me.
Uh-huh.
And what I found is you have to be so present to serve. Like, you have to be paying attention to everything that's going on. But that high of like riding the raw energy of the earth is so amazing. You're just so in alignment, and you're so one with everything that you're doing in that moment, that it was the combination of that, and then the oneness that you feel when you're working with somebody's energy field is the same feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So both of them require alignment. And as I continued to allow, this to develop, I mean, we all have intuitive abilities. We are all one.
Yes.
And we can all heal and support each other. We just don't know how. And so those of us that have spent the time to learn the techniques and the way to do it, I'm not doing anything different than anybody else could do. It's just like, some people cook better than others. So I've just fine-tuned my ability to read and help people energetically, because I've just spent more time studying it. So that was sort of my journey, as I call, from victim to vivacious.
I like that. So what was the period of time that this, the time from when you were kind of like, this isn't working? That moment, you're just like,
Yeah.
something more out there. There's something just not quite right. You're a perfectionist, and I know when the whole time you were talking and I'm like nodding, that was like me,
Yeah.
when you're a perfectionist and trying to fit in, and you're trying to do everything that everybody said to be doing what life is supposed to be like. And so you're doing it like a puppet on a string, and then you're just like, this isn't it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would say the unraveling of the marriage, and me really
Mm-hmm.
losing so many parts of myself, was probably like a good 5 or so year journey.
Okay.
But then the coming out of it was rather quick, because I got the paddleboard like within a couple of months, and then I just started going out paddling with people that I didn't know. And then one thing, sort of led to another. So I would say that it was like a year or two, and I was almost like a completely different person. My children were like, who are you, and what happened to our nervous, nilly, uptight, always on our case mother, who has turned into this hippie surfer chick? Like, they just, didn't even know what to do with me. And I was like, you know what, guys, I think this is like the real me. Like, this is the girl that was hiding behind all that anxiety,
Yes.
Before. But what I learned in all of this is, so many things that happen along the way of, the diseases that I was diagnosed with that I no longer have, the heart condition, which I no longer have. I mean, I am in the best physical shape and in the best health that I've ever been in my life, to be on the plus side of 50. I don't talk numbers, but I'm just saying that's how my years on the planet. But how old do I feel? I feel 35,
Right.
I have tons of energy. But what I discovered is that my um, sensitivity to energy came across as it 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 bothered me as a kid. Like, I didn't realize that I was basically an empath. That means you're feeling other people's feelings, taking stuff on.
Yeah.
So what I thought was a curse has actually turned out to be my gift. I
Mm.
just had to learn how to dial down what I was taking in, because I was taking in everything, not knowing I was doing it. A lot of the
Yes.
anxiety I felt wasn't mine, and so now that doesn't happen to me very often. I know what's mine, I know what's somebody else's, but now I can use that intuitive ability to help people instead of it just coming to me and me not really knowing what to do with it.
Right. You have to create that filter
Yes.
that, maybe you can kind of feel, but then when it's coming back and someone's projecting on you, you're like, no, that's not
Yeah,
mine, that's yours.
exactly.
Right. Right.
And that's a lot of what I teach my clients too, is understanding. We don't understand, a lot of people, enough about energy and our energy field and our energy body and our mind and how all of that works. And so I feel like we walk through life feeling like life is happening to us, but life is actually an inside out journey.
Yes. Yes. And the universe is a reflection of what your group of thoughts are being at that time.
Right.
I mean, I can definitely, if I sit down long enough and go back through life and go, what was on the top of my mind? What was that running engine in my mind at that time? What was always on my mind? And then how that shifted and how it kept continually shifting um, throughout life. And so you have to be mindful of what thoughts you have going on in your mind, because that is your consciousness, and then you're going to start seeing it show up in your life one way or the other.
Right. And actually, what a lot of people don't know is it's our subconscious mind that's running our life, not the 10% that we're thinking with. So,
Mm-hmm.
you can try to, learn to control your thoughts and be more positive and all of that, which is helpful. But if you've got a different track playing in the subconscious mind that you're not aware of, it's going to override the conscious mind every single
Well,
time.
right. If you're like, I love myself, but beneath you don't really feel that,
Right.
definitely you've got some beliefs that are the engine that's running. And I mean, there's some things that you can kind of try to say over and over, and if you think about it long enough, it'll become a belief. But at first, it may not feel like it feels right. Like you could be saying and thinking and working on a conscious level on one end, and you just feel mixed up, because what's going on is that your belief system that's deep in there is it's like another current going another direction, and no wonder it feels kind of weird and you feel off.
Yeah. 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 So put that in surfer terms, it's like the rip current, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
you're trying to be on this floaty ocean and everything's all peaceful, calm, but underneath there's this like rip current of stuff that you're like, what's in there, and
Right.
what is it creating in my life? And, for me, I think that's part of what I was dealing with in my life, was I was doing all this peace, love, happiness, affirmations, sticky notes everywhere. And it wasn't getting in,
Didn't
because
feel real.
no, it didn't feel real, because at the core, I still had, beliefs of not being good enough, not, the self-worth wasn't there, the self-love wasn't there. And, part of that is just our mind. We're thinking those 50, 60, 70,000 thoughts a day, whatever they say it is, the number keeps changing. And a lot of them aren't good, even not about us, but just about the world and what's going on in the planet and everything. It's just, but we relate to those like they're us, like they're a part of us, and they're not, because at the core of our essence, we are source energy. Our higher self, my belief is, our higher self is that part of source, that part of God that we all are. And if you connect with that and you align with that, then nothing else that you're thinking is truth, because truth is love. Truth is joy. Truth is happiness. And it's just a matter of overriding or disbelieving what's going on in our head that isn't really our truth.
Well, I heard one time, it was kind of a profound statement that at first I was like, oh, that's not true. But then I took a beat and was like, yeah, it is. So basically the statement was, life is meaningless. And it's kind of true, because we are the ones putting meaning to everything, not life itself.
Right.
We're putting the meaning to it. And every person has their own perspective of how things mean to them. I mean,
Right.
like if you just dropped your wedding ring or something important on the ground on a sidewalk, and I walk by later and you're fretful looking for it, and I come across it, I'm like, oh, it's a ring. It doesn't have any emotional connection to me.
Right.
It had an emotional connection to you. And that's about a lot of different things.
Right. Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you've got a book. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So earlier this year, I was a contributing author to an Amazon #1 best-selling book called Woke.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. There's about 20 authors in the book, and it was all about sort of what I just shared, our journeys to awakening. So that's why the book was called Woke. And my chapter is called "What Surfing Got to Do with It." So I write about the analogy between my journey to becoming a healer, as well as my journey to becoming an adult surfer. So yeah, that was super fun project to do. And hopefully soon I'll be able to have my book launch party that didn't get to happen. So yeah, it's just sitting there waiting for me to do a little bit more with it, but it was a lot of fun.
That's great. So so you live in Georgia, which is a coastal state, which a lot of people forget.
Right.
But do you get to surf often, since you're probably, I assume you live a little bit more landlocked rather than living near the beach. How often do you get to go?
I try to go at least 6 or 7 times a year. This year, thankfully, before COVID, I got to surf in Mexico for a week, which was amazing. I spent a week in Cocoa Beach, and then I run down to Jacksonville, the rest of the time to fill in. So I'll be going again in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to that.
And how long did it take for you to finally just get the hang 10? I mean, get those 10 toes on the board and actually take take a wave.
Well, it was funny because, I only wanted to paddleboard. And as soon as I got on the paddleboard, I started to find a piece of myself that had been lost. As a gymnast and a dancer, those are both balance sports.
Oh, yeah.
So as soon as I got on the board, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have one of these. This feels like home to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I met people that actually surfed on them, I was like, I'm not doing that. In the ocean, the sharks, you must be crazy. And they were like, no, you're really coordinated. We really think you can do this. And so I trained on the lake. And then I had a week's vacation, and they invited me to go. And that was a big, brave moment. I went on vacation with 12 people I'd never met before.
Wow.
And some of my friends were like, you're crazy. And I said, you know what? I'm either going to be brave or going to end up stuck in the house like a little scared mouse. And so I just decided to go. And I mean, it was that fear that we all feel in our body when we're doing something not familiar. I got in the car with a man I'd never met before, stayed in a house with a bunch of people I didn't know. And then to go do something that I had never done before and only trained on the lake. Yeah. And so I just got out there and I just did what they told me to do. And I later found out they were pretty big waves for a beginner, but I just saw this wave coming at me and I was like, okay, I'm going to get clobbered if I don't try to catch it. So I'm just do what they said and, see what happens. and I caught the wave. And then
Oh,
after that, I mean, there was no turning back. Like, I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. So I just, I mean, there's been plenty of wipeouts and lots to learn, but I mean, I continued to surf that whole very first trip that I went and never looked back.
now were you surfing on a paddle board in the surf, or did you have a different kind of?
Yeah. So I actually surf on a stand-up paddle board. So I stand
Really?
up, yeah, I stand up and paddle to catch the waves versus laying, flat on my stomach like a regular surfer.
Okay. Because I mean, when I lived in Vero Beach, I went paddleboarding, and I was like, "Oh, I want to buy one of these," and then I ended up not staying down there, so I never got one. But I lived not too far from the lake, so I definitely would love to adventure back into that for sure, because that just sounds so like me. Like I would just like start getting going on that, and just I love the surf, and I love playing in it. I mean, even just
Yeah.
playing in it. So tell me a little bit about what your energy coaching is like. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much I love it. And I think the reason why I call myself an energy coach versus an energy healer is because I give my clients practices to do. And I teach them about, how the mind works and how the energy works. So, my ideal client isn't someone that comes for me to fix them, you know like,
Mm-hmm.
I've tried everything else, just move my energy around and make this thing go away, which, there is that. I intuit where they have energy blocks, but like, the body is a self-healing organism. So what keeps it from not healing is the either stuck energy that's in the way. Well, most of that stuck energy comes from um, either memories or traumas, usually things that happen to us between the ages of 0 and 7, when our mind is basically in a theta state and we're just recording everything that happens to us without any ability to reason. Mom didn't mean to yell at me, or, the teacher, she didn't have any idea that was going to hurt me. So like, all that stuff, everything is just recorded in the mind as we
Mm-hmm.
go along. And so some things we have awareness of. I work with some clients that remember their childhood traumas, um, clients that have been adopted or passed around. And even some of it is in their body, like the memory of not being nurtured as a child or held as a child. And
Mm-hmm.
some of it is the stories that they're telling themselves that they learned from their parents about what happened to them.
Right.
So you have to work it from the angle of the inner, this is how I like to do, finding the energy in the body and then teaching them how to push that energy out. And then also going into the subconscious mind and finding the programming basically that isn't serving them. So debugging that, if you will, pulling it out and then replacing it. So, I like to say that we remove limiting beliefs and we replace
Mm-hmm.
them with enabling truths, because to me, an enabling truth is a thought that is true from source, right? So
Yeah.
we all are loved unconditionally by source, because that's just the design of
Right.
the human. And so it's just being able to find that and tap into that. And, I could talk forever about this, but, there's also, cellular memory. So we have memory that actually is in our DNA that's been passed down from generations past. And people just really aren't aware how much power they have to create, almost overnight changes in and how they're functioning. People that are on just high alert anxiety because they're constantly running that, the saber-toothed tiger is chasing them for one reason or another. And then they create this repetitive pattern of almost being addicted to that adrenaline, right? And so
Yeah.
even if one situation calms down, their mind becomes used to it. And so they go create another one, because that's what they feel like is their normal. And then, like you were saying before, then it just becomes a habit. So then they think that habit of constantly being in fight or flight is who they are, how they're wired. There's something wrong with me. I can't calm down. I can't sleep. So I love the science and the humanity coming together to unravel that and figure it out. And the mind is so tricky about wanting to keep you safe, right? So the whole thing is the mind is trying to keep you from fearful situations. Well, fear could be you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, but it also could be like fear of success. So
Yes.
whatever's unfamiliar, either below or above, whatever your current set point is, that's where your mind wants you to stay. And so it's a delicate little dance that I do to try to get in the subconscious mind to get them to shift where they are without creating threat. Because if I use certain words or take them too far too quick, then that fear comes up and then I become the enemy, right? Not the person that's trying to help. And so I love to, always want to know what's their background. Are they Christian? Are they spiritual? Are they like I've worked with people that are in the military, so they're very rigid about the way and methodical about the way they go about things. Because typically people in the military that they're trained that way, right? And
Right.
so if I have a client with a military background or someone who's like a high-end professional and it's like a to-do list and we have to get this all done and whatever, I used to be a professional planner, so I know about projects and timelines and all that. And so I will structure their work so it fits with their personality. And they can't, sometimes those people can't go like ooey gooey, so I have to sort of tiptoe and find a way around. So I've had really good success with clients that are overcoming traumas, clients that are overcoming cancers, mastectomy, diseases, and then also sleep disorders, anxiety. And then I've worked with some teenagers with self-esteem. So it's amazing, some of these young girls and the physical and emotional trauma that they experience just from high school.
Yes.
And they shift really quickly because they're younger and their energy is not quite so stuck. And to just watch them understand that they can put some of these things down and that they can sit, and hear their inner voice and connect with their higher self and realize that in that place, like, they're indestructible. Like, it doesn't matter what somebody says. It doesn't matter what happens. If you can get connected and aligned with your higher self and you're walking through life every day going, yes to this is in my vibration, no to that, that's not, it's just a total game changer.
I agree. And I also think that a huge thing that was a paradigm shift for me was when you are trying so hard for something to happen a certain way, and all you do is come up with roadblocks and problems, and it's just not happening. Then, because finally, I mean, when I was in a point where I was on food stamps, I was going through bankruptcy, I was trying to just make ends meet with lots of different jobs. And so I just said to myself, okay, well, if this happens, it could go this way, and play it all the way as far as I could see how it could play. And I thought, well, I could go this way and play it all the way to the end. And then when I got okay with either outcome or maybe another outcome I wasn't even aware of, that just released everything, because I wasn't attached to the outcome. And then what I found is that what finally did happen was better than I had even imagined what
Right.
would, and that's so hard to do. But if you can get in the practice of doing that, the world just opens for you. And it's scary because sometimes it could be someone that you love and you want your life to go a certain way with them, and then you just go, I'm just gonna be okay without this person. I would love to be with them, but I will be okay without them. And you just let it go, and then all of a sudden life just turns out better than you had imagined. So that's I think the belief that got me the most was just letting go.
Yeah, I agree. And, honestly, I mean, it still is a challenge for me sometimes too. I mean, having spent 30 years as a professional planner,
Yeah,
it's
right.
really hard to turn that part of my brain off. It's like, okay, we need to plan this and we're going to live here and do this. And, and then it's like, yeah, I find myself, not in the flow sometimes, not surrendering to, whatever my higher self has in store for me and trying to make it happen,
Mm-hmm. And I
So,
admire the people that just get a backpack, take a one-way trip to some other country and just land and just live by their wits. And I just think someday I'm just going to have to take a month and just go like do that when COVID's over.
yeah.
Just try that on for size, just to get that experience,
Yeah.
So tell me what your current passion is right now. What's in your world right now?
Yeah, well, other than my clients that I love, working with and watching them grow and shift, I, for the longest time since 2009, found out about this organization called Wine to Water. And I actually heard the founder, Doc Henley, speak, and his story's amazing. He was a bartender and he was like, there's got to be more to life than this. And he prayed about it. And, all of a sudden he got this idea of turning, like Jesus, turning wine to water. Like, there's people that don't have clean drinking water. What can I do about that? So I have tried twice to go on mission trips with them, and it hasn't worked out for one reason or another. And I just realized that, there's so many things that we all didn't get to do this year that we wanted to do, right? It's just been one of those years. And, I hadn't done some volunteering that I normally would have. And I had some money saved up, that was supposed to go to charity that didn't go anywhere because I got busy doing other things. And I started looking through my, wish list of things that I want to do, vision board. I can't remember exactly where, but I came across it and I was like, I can probably figure out a way to do this without actually going on a trip. Like, I knew they did water filter builds and I didn't know what they cost. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to call them and see what they say. So I found out what it cost and how many people it takes and everything to build filters. So I just decided I know enough people, I'm going to host my own event. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about your event. Like, what is this exactly?
So on November the 11th, there's going to be 30 people, and we're going to build 50 water treatment filters that will provide clean drinking water for 500 people for 10 years in remote areas of the world.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And then part of my commitment to do that was the filters cost $2,600. So I'm in the process of raising enough money. I've got it. I've got the people to build. That was pretty easy, finding 30 people that wanted to show up and do that. And so now I'm in the fundraising piece of it to gather up the $2,600. And, Source just called for me to do this. And I had, no fear about that I was going to get the money. People were like, oh my gosh, $2,600. What if you don't get it? And I'm like, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
No doubt. You have a knowing. Yeah.
Exactly.
So if somebody wants to donate, what's the best thing that they can do to help you out? Where would they go?
So probably you'll just need to put it in the show notes, but it's there's a link that you go to. I have an actual funding page.
Okay.
At Wine to Water, but you have to go to the teams, and then you have to find my team, which my team is called Live Aloha. But it would just be easier if somebody just like grab the notes, show notes, and
yeah,
I can put a link in there.
Yeah, we'll stick those down there, and anybody can go grab it. And yeah, that was great. So basically, you having a group of 30 people that are putting together these little filtration systems, and you need about $2,600 to complete this, and then it'll be sent over and help 500 people, correct?
Correct, yeah.
For how long again? How long will this filtration system help them?
10 years.
10 Years.
Years, yeah. And so with my background in meeting and event planning, which I haven't been using since I've shifted careers, that piece of it, I mean, a 30-person event I can do with my eyes closed. And they also have wineries that give back a portion of the proceeds. So there's a winery that sponsors them. So I bought the wine from them. So we're also going to drink wine while we're making water filters. And
how fun.
Yeah.
How fun. That's profound. So much. Okay. So, tell the listeners, do you have anything that you can offer today as, thanks to them for listening in today?
Yes, if you go to my website, which is SuzanneSBailey.com, you can reach out to me, and I have a free healing audio that I can send to you, as well as I also offer complimentary consults and micro healing sessions. So you can reach out to me and book a complimentary session with me to get a little bit of a feel for what I do and see if you'd be interested in working with me.
That will be great. So I'll have that a link in the show notes below as well. And so tell us, what is one of your favorite quotes?
My favorite quote is it's just really more of a mantra. It's just align with the divine. Because if we align with source, then, we get intuition, we get hits, we know, take this fork in the road, not that one. Say yes to this and no to that. And it's just such a busy, noisy world we live in right now. And, I do my meditation and my chakra balancing usually at lunch, because I wake up in the morning and we hit the reset
Off
button.
And running.
As long as you don't pick up yesterday's stuff, then you start off with a fresh slate.
Yes.
Sometimes by the time I get to lunch, that's when I tend to kind of try to regroup myself, or even in the afternoon. So taking breaks throughout the day to check in with yourself. Am I aligned, or is the monkey mind driving the show right now?
Right. And so we also offer a happy hack for the listeners. So what is something you'd like to offer as a happy hack that you find is very helpful to you?
Yeah, so I teach this to all of my clients. I call it 5D movies. So if you think back through your life when you were on a vacation, or birth of a child, if it wasn't traumatic, or I don't know, anything that you can think of, a time when you really felt like you were aligned with source, that you felt like you were just in the zone, on cloud nine, whatever those little memories are. You can take those memories and funnel them through your 5 senses. So getting into a meditative state, remembering where you were. So for example, one of the ones that I used, I got to go to Bora Bora, and I was on this private island, and there was people bringing us drinks in the water, and I was laying in a hammock. And so I'll go there, and then, I'll hear the palm trees swaying and the ocean lapping up, and I'll smell the scent of coconut in the air, and see the beautiful water that looked like a painting that went on forever, and feel my sand in my toes in the sand, and just got it all backwards. And then just bring it into all of your senses, so that because our mind really doesn't know the difference between, like when you watch a movie, between a movie and reality.
Right.
So by doing that, you can take yourself to that place where you are, happy and joyful and peaceful and aligned. And even just sitting there and running that through all of your senses for a few minutes can down regulate your nervous system, get you back to center pretty quickly, actually. And you can create a couple of them, because I've found for me, it's like I need a few of them, because sometimes then my mind goes, yeah, we know what we're going, we know what she's trying to do, and we won't have any part of that.
Right.
Because I want to stay over here in my upset, dysfunctional place. So I try to have a couple of them, so I can switch them around. So
go to your happy place at
exactly.
any time, instantly. And not just thinking about it, but just completely having that 3D effect. Because, it's funny, even when you're listening to a song, sometimes you can have like either a vision or you're getting a feeling coming back, or you might smell something. Like anytime I think about like riding my bike out in the country, which I used to do as a kid, I could smell the smells.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely you have to work on it. I mean, some people go, "Oh, that's not going to work," but if you try, you definitely can get that experience, and it's so well worth it. And
For sure.
it's a great habit to have. You can do it daily, whether you need a happy hack or not. It's something that you can add to your meditation practice, right?
Yeah. And some people that, they don't, I can't meditate. I can't sit still. I can't quiet my mind. You don't need to. If you can just do this, like,
Mhm.
if you can't call up a memory, then make one up,
Yeah. Yeah, your body doesn't know any different,
Yeah. And
really.
it was that trip to Bora Bora that got me through, my divorce.
Mm.
So there was so much going on, and I just would, at night, if I couldn't sleep, I would just take myself there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Now I have
Well,
surfing stories. So
you do. You have all sorts of surfing.
yeah,
Your happy place could just be on the board and feeling the water and the sun and
yeah,
the wave. And so,
yeah,
yeah. And, life is supposed to be a series of these events,
yes. So
right? And if you haven't had one, make one up, and then maybe you'll end up living it, right?
that is so true, because that has happened to me. I've made some up, and they were like not even like made them up like just to make myself feel better. you know Let me just make up this story, and then it actually happened. I'm like, whoa, this stuff really works. And
It
that's what
does.
yeah, that's what I mean by life is created from the inside out. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, it has been so wonderful speaking with you. I could talk to you all day.
You too. Thank you so
And
much for having me. I really appreciate
yes,
it.
and I wish you all the best with this, the water filtration project. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you're one of those people that's going to be doing another one and another one for sure.
Yep.
But thank you so much, and definitely would love to have you back on the show sometime and let me know how your event went and how it played out, and how
Well,
the people that had the filtration system. I mean, that is huge when you're there and you're showing them, and they just now realize how much value that's bringing to their lives, right?
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for everything that you do to bring happiness to the universe.
Thank you. Take care now.
All right, you too.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for listening to this episode of the Create Happy Now podcast. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on the additional topics that you would like to be featured on the Create Happy Now podcast. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to sign up to be notified of the upcoming free training. If you are done with drama and done with feeling unfulfilled, done with life being a chain of disappointment, and ready to have a life of Zen, where drama fades away, things start to go your way, inspiration becomes exciting, abundance starts to show up effortlessly, and you finally see a path, a blueprint to follow, then make sure you go down to the description below, either on the podcast or the YouTube channel, depending on what you're on at this time, and check out the link there and go get on the list so that you'll be notified when this free training will be coming out. Remember, again, it's only going to be open for a 7-day window. You'll have that 7 days to listen to it before I will be taking it down. So be sure to get on that list today. Catch Create Happy Now on YouTube with podcast recordings and additional videos. Look out for Create Happy Now Facebook group, courses, books, and more. If you would like to stay on top of Create Happy Now creations, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel so you can start your journey to create happy now. You can also find Create Happy Now on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, Deezer, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio.